This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today I'm going to go a little old school on you. I'm actually going to go back to a model that I designed for coaches, mainly in the fitness industry, but I also featured this content in my book, Minding Yourself, and you can pre-order my book, Minding Yourself, on many different websites, from the Book Depository through to Amazon, through to Dimmix, and even from my publisher, Meyer and Meyer Sports. So that would mean the world to me. The book's gone through, it actually goes through and talks a lot about the developmental approach to, the way that we think in relation to our health, and then also the way that we approach our training mentally, and then also the way we approach our food mentally. So it's actually not just the practical components of nutrition, training, and mindset, so to speak. It's actually taking that same lens and applying it to nutrition and training. So either way, in that book, I featured these commandments, and they're called the 15 coaching commandments. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to actually go through each one. I would love your feedback on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any questions you have on it as well. And hopefully, this might benefit you as either an athlete or maybe even a coach. And I did actually write all this stuff out and come up with these well before I did a lot more of my own developmental learning. However, they still stand the test of time from an actual application exercise or a model for trainers and coaches to use. I think there's a lot of validity to it as well from a client or athlete perspective, but I'm sure that you can grab some of this and apply it to your industry if you are in a different industry. So you can actually, by the way, you can grab this ebook. It is an ebook. You can grab it off my website as well, davenixon.com.au. It's free. It should just be a pop-up. But if you do want the ebook, then just contact me. You can contact me at ddnix on Instagram, or you'll find me at on Facebook as well under either Diamond Dave Nixon or Dave Nixon on my website. So yeah, if you want to get the ebook, I'll just send it to you. So let me know. Otherwise, we're going to start with number 1, and that is movement over exercise. Now, when I first wrote these out, and I'm not going to read it word for word, I'm just going to talk to it. When I first wrote these out, I thought about what are the things that I do on the floor that I want to train my coaches to do. I want to make sure other people that are working within my facility are also doing. And so the first thing we looked at was going movement over exercise. Now, this has definitely been fleshed out massive amounts since then. However, the main premise is still the same. We want to be able to make sure that we're not teaching people the correct exercise technique. That's not what we do. We want to help people develop the movement patterns that allow them to execute movement well. Now, there's a big difference in that. If we're starting with the exercise, then what we're doing is we're operating saying that this exercise and usually the dot points that follow are correct. Whereas when we start with movement, we're actually looking at the person first, not the exercise first. And so we're sort of reverse engineering how we're viewing what the person is doing. This is really crucial. It falls under the idea that we're not in the health industry teaching people, we are in the people industry teaching health. And that does make all the fucking difference. It makes a big difference, a massive difference. So it's really important there to really break that down and understand that, is that when we start with movement, we start with the human, right? And we start looking at what's the next thing that they need to pay attention to that's going to help them develop their movement. Because saying that there's correct technique is kind of incorrect. Right. Saying there's wrong technique. It's like, think of it rather than right and wrong. Think of it rather than black and white. Think of it more like a gray area, a developmental area. Maybe not developmental, maybe more like a development area, right? Where it's like, oh, well, you kicked the soccer ball correctly, so stop developing. You do it correctly. You do it right. You don't need to develop it anymore. It's like, no, it's a skill to be developed, and so is movement. So when we view each movement like that, then we can actually deal with the person rather than the exercise. And when we deal with the person, we're taking into account their levers, their training age. And when I say training age, that can be quite complex, but at the same time, really simple, that we're really just pointing to how long has that person been training for in this style, right? And an example there is a cyclist. So a cyclist might be, and I used to have a business partner that was like this. She was a professional cyclist, a fantastic athlete, and transitioned into weightlifting. and ran into a bunch of injuries. So her mental training age was very well developed. Her physical training age for cycling was really well developed. Her physical training age for lifting wasn't. You see, as for a cyclist, you're actually a concentric athlete. All you do is effectively push. So the muscles are contracting and shortening. There's no eccentric loading, which is the muscles lengthening under load, right? And so what's actually happening here, especially because it's unilateral, it's not bilateral, which means it's one leg, then the next leg, then the next leg, as opposed to two legs at the same time like a squat. So when we go from doing a movement like that, and then we have this sort of mental training age with it, and then taking that mental training age and then applying it to exercise over here that the body's not like adapted to, we're going to run into injuries. And that's usually a normal part of learning. I mean, that's often why that person got so successful in the first, not necessarily this person in particular, but whoever. And so there's a lot of reasons and validity to why all these things become important to pay attention to. So one of the key things there is paying attention to the levers. Everyone has different lever lengths. So if you and I were the exact same height, we would still potentially have different lever lengths. I've met people who are shorter than me with the same length legs, right? But I've got longer arms. And so there's interesting things here that we don't need the exact same information. We need different information. We need to pay attention to different positions that we're meant to be in order to move a particular either barbell or maybe it's a different object. Like what's really crucial here is understanding around like even going movement over exercise is actually teaching the person to know what position they're in, not teaching them to know to listen to your cues, right? And the reason why that's so crucial is because the person should be building a kinesthetic awareness around what positions they need to be in to be safe to execute whatever movements required of them. You might want to go back and play that again, right? A kinesthetic awareness about what's required of them to execute a movement based on the movement that is required of them. So one key thing there is looking at neutral spine is not dictated by the spine being straight. Neutral spine is often dictated by tension created in the stomach or the abdomen, right? So you let neutral spine be dictated by tension, not position. Really big difference because we're not paying attention to the exercise. The exercise is occurring because we're paying attention to the movement. So we're reverse engineering that. And that's really one of the things that we're looking at here at Movement Over Exercise is to help develop movement, continually develop movement and you know, the levers and the the training age are just two things. There's many other factors such as learning preferences because we don't have a learning style. We do not have a learning style. We have learning preferences. We can learn any different way. We have learning, probably not even preferences, biases, right? And the reason why people go, I'm a visual learner, it's like, well, that means you can't fucking learn in the dark. It means you probably can't read in the dark, fair enough, but it means you can't learn by listening at all. So if you were blind, then your fucking learning's over. It's like, no, you have a learning preference. You have a learning bias. And what that means is, so the representational systems, and it's not representational, it's representational. It's the way that we represent the world to our mind, right, is through different senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. You've also got gustatory and olfactory, right, such as taste and smell. So unless you're a chef, those two don't come into play massively. But then you've also got auditory digital, which is effectively self-talk, right, so the thinkers. And so all of these representational systems play a role in how we learn. And this is funny because people will go, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, which one? And then they tell me to go away. Huh. But either way, these are all the things we want to pay attention to because we're operating on based from the human rather than based on the exercise that the human should be doing. And the key thing is being able to do both, really. However, most importantly for so many of us in the industry and athletes alike is that we need to develop movement. And the actual development of movement, the coach has a responsibility to provide a safe learning environment, a safe and patient learning environment. The client or athlete has the responsibility to learn. It's not the coach is not responsible for the client's learning, right? The client is responsible for that because that's their life, it's their body, it's their learning. Also, the coach will never actually know what's going on for the client. That's the client's responsibility. They know what's going on in their body, and if they don't, they need to learn, and that's the whole process of being patient and learning and seeing it as a continual unraveling development rather than a black and white technical point. team, I hope you got a lot out of this podcast. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. I'm looking forward to doing some more specific coaching seminars and athlete mindset seminars next year. I'm actually currently looking at putting a couple of courses together, so like basically a 4-week course for both of those demographics as well. And I need maybe 3 to 4 people who are keen to do it for free to begin with. I just want to beta test a few things. So if that's you, get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on the stuff that I said at the start at DDNix. You can find me at davenixon.com.au. You can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. You can even find me in Canberra. Otherwise, team, if you haven't already, grab a ticket to my Mood Prep seminar, 21st, 22nd of September. The prices go up as of Saturday. So your last chance to get basically there's one more early bird, but it'll go up again, $80. Otherwise, team, that's me done. I'm done. I've said enough. Please, until tomorrow, peace and pizza, kick today in the dick, and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.